Hello, Awifians. Hello, we're back. And guess who is here with us today? Kingsley made it. He's here with us. It's good to always stay motivated no matter what. Technology fails you, people fail you. Make sure you just stay focused and you show up anyway. Today we have a loving brother, a friend, and this loving brother, I personally believe he's going to mentor many women and men, many women and girls or boys as well in Africa. We should really want him. Today we are going to be talking about how women in Africa can start benefiting from their hard work. And we have live viewers already. Thank you so much for joining us. Please ask your question because this is the future. This is what we are looking for in Africa. Those who uplift others and see the potential in that continent. Today's guest is by name Kingsley Okeke. He is a media practitioner and specialist with 14 years of experience in print journalism, backed by 5 years experience in management and editorial functions. Some of his recent assignments include formulating media strategy for the organization New Market, as well as leading the groups in market penetration. He also oversees Africa Leadership Magazine Group's offices in UK and Africa with headquarters in Abuja. He is also the chief media consultant at the Center for Economic and Leadership Development, a leading NGO currently in special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. Kingsley is a member of the International Association for Media and Communication Research and part of the International Communication Research, Political Communication Research, as well as Public Service Media Policies, working groups of the association. He has consistently led the group's international outreach to Asia, Europe, Middle East, and Americas. Kingsley is a fellow of the Certified Public Administrators of England and Wales. Mes hommages, monsieur, mes hommages. I am so proud to be sitting here with you, so proud to be sitting with such an intelligent, brave man. Kingsley, thank you so much for the honor that you are going to provide to this audience today. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you very much, Lydia. I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. You are such a treasure to that continent. And today's questions to you are going to be a little bit brutal, but I think you are the right person for such questions. Africa's very first asset is its natural resources. And Africa's very first human resources is its women. What's your opinion on that, and how are you leading by example by exposing to the world Africa's very first and best human resources?
Again, thank you, Lillian, for the great work you and your team are doing over there. And for us, of course, it's always a privilege talking and sharing with anyone that is supporting the cause of women all over the world. And that's why for me, when the team told me about this interview, I said anything for our women, because we need to spread the gospel. We need to make not just the continent, but the world over know that actually our women are our greatest human resources. Of course, your question, you're absolutely right. Africa's our greatest human resource, of course, is our women. We have never joked with that. And basically, for us, there is an African proverb or a general proverb that says that when you empower a woman, you empower a nation. And we've lived with that particular belief for centuries and ages. And for us, we believe so much, especially here in African Leadership Magazine, that we believe in the enormous potentials of the continent. And we believe that to unlock the full potentials of the continent, we must empower women by removing the barriers that impede them from attaining their growth, of course, in their chosen fields of endeavor. So if you look at the fact that women constitute about over 50% of the population of the continent, and look at the fact that they contribute. There's a recent statistics by McKinsey which says that over 70% of crop production in Africa is handled by women. About 60% of the marketing of this product is actually done by women. And of course, I think Credit Suisse recently also said that they've established a track record of actually every organization or association that has at least 3% women as members of the board have much more to. They deliver so much in terms of financial returns for such organizations. It shows you the enormous potentials of women, all over the world, not just in Africa. And for us here in African leadership, we've given this a priority. Not just have we made women a core focus for our publication by ensuring that for every that we do, we give up at least 3 or 4 pages on dedicated to gender issues and promoting women that are doing very well in the continent. We've gone beyond that. We've also said, look, we just don't want to cover them and throw them in the midst of the magazine. We want to establish, some level of coverage that, a magazine that delves or deals extensively with women. That's why our sister organization, which is the Center for Economic and Leadership Development, through that platform, we set up what we call the Amazon Watch magazine. That magazine, what it does is actually talks about women in developing nations, not just Africa, who share the same burden and pain that women in Africa face. So we are contributing immensely, towards changing the narrative on women, because we feel that for women in Africa, if we empower, if we solve the problem of gender inequality, if we solve the problem of gender disparity in the continent, we must have gone halfway towards solving the problem of the continent. So that's what African leadership have been doing. If you look at all our events that we do, if you look at all our narratives that we've pushed out there, it's about promoting women, gender issues. We did not just stop at the affirmative action to say, look, this is what they should get. We also went ahead to say that Center for Economic and Leadership Development is devoted towards vulnerable members of the society, of course, which you and I agree that women make up about 60 to 70% of the vulnerable members of the African society. So that's what we face, and for us, that's what we've been committed to doing over the past 10 years, and we are continuing to do that. And of course, what you are doing here right now is also part of our ways of getting out the information out there that women need all the support they can get from their men in the continent.
Great. And that's why I admire you. That's why I called on you. And yes, your team, they've been very responsive. They've been very, very supportive of our times. We cannot. So thank you so much. And please, on behalf of my team, do share my sincere gratitude to them as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There is a quote which states, if wealth was the inevitable result of hard work and entrepreneurship, every woman in Africa will be a millionaire. How can women in Africa start benefiting from their hard work?
That's a very interesting question, actually, Lillian. If you this right here, what you're doing, what you and your team are doing, is actually part of the ways that which women can begin to benefit from their hard work. I think we need to understand where we're coming from as a continent. Ours is more a cultural issue, as it is also a religious issue for the things that women are facing in the continent. So these things don't change overnight. These things don't just happen. But you see, when you continue to push a certain kind of narrative, and you continue to educate the men as well as the women on the need to empower the women, on the need to properly situate the women, you begin to see that things are changing. And I'm glad to even tell you that some countries in Africa are already taking the lead to ensure that diversity, gender diversity, becomes a core part of their good governance, corporate governance and structure. For you to be for there to be, for your organization or your corporation to say, for any government to say or certify you, your corporate governance procedure as good or perfect, they must see a semblance of gender diversity. Nigeria is in that lead, is in the league of those countries that are actually insisting that these things happen. We're not yet there, but of course we are moving towards that line. If you look at countries like Morocco, if you see also, there was a report recently that says that this country, and even of course you see what South Africa is doing, and that
Yes.
some corporations that there are some corporations and some establishments that when you go there you see a full representation. All these things are some of the things that we are doing, or that's been done to ensure that women begin to benefit from their hard work. It is not yet guru. Is it not yet? We are not yet there, but it is something that we would continue to do. We'll continue to have this kind of conversations. We'll continue to take the message out there on the street. We have to change the narrative. We have to educate the people, because you can't just take away a donkey years of education or miseducation that has been inculcated in the people. It doesn't just happen overnight. But you see, by the time you continue to say that this is the way to go, this is international best practice, these are standard procedure for all global conventions, then people begin to subscribe to such kind of narrative. And that's why I must commend what you're doing. You would never, when you, like they say, when you want to get water out of a rock, or when you want to destroy a rock, it is not with the first strike, but after after many, you strike once, twice, thrice. It is, in the number, no matter how hard you strike, it is not in the enormity of the strike, but the consistency. You keep striking until you see the rock give way. So it might be difficult in the first few years. It might seem as if nothing is happening, but there is already a crack that is being placed in the glass ceiling and the rock, which we know that in time will give way for us to see the enormous potentials of our women manifest in various facets, both in government and business. So that's for us. That's what we do. We hope would ensure that they get the benefits of their hard work at the end of the day.
Great. I'm really glad you really elaborated on that, and you're showing us that there is hope. You're giving us figures and you're giving us facts. So that's amazing. I hope any woman listening to this today, you can really go back and listen to this podcast and just ask yourself, with the opportunities that are out there, what is it that I myself am putting, how much am I investing in myself to be able to change my life with all these opportunities that are out there? And this brings us to the next question. What are some peculiar challenges that women in Africa face when it comes to establishing their businesses? What are some of the problems they have that you've observed?
Well, this particular question it can be drawn from the last question before this. Basically,
Yes.
If you look at women setting up businesses, it's quite painful that statistics have proven that about with the number that I've just shown you, over 50% of our population. Women constitute over 50% of our population, but they only constitute about 5%, of CEO and top management level executives in the continent. It shows you that quite a number of women have remained at the lower prong of business. And yes, there are some of the difficulties that they encounter, some of the issues that have that made it practically impossible for them to establish businesses. Is the patriarchal society that we live in, where it is assumed that there are growing up, there are times they tell you that there are some jobs that are meant for, or there are some things, chores, even house chores, that are meant for women. And you now begin to wonder that when a child grows up at 1, 2, 3, you begin to hear those kind of conversations. When you grow up with that mentality, there are certain expectations, there are certain expectations that the society places on women. You find
Yes.
out that some men are intimidated when women succeed. You find out that there are narratives like if you are a successful CEO as a lady, you find it difficult to get married. And you and I
Yes.
agree that there's some kind of stigma in the African society if you're not married. Even when we know that that is not a true definition of success in the real sense of it. So if you look at some of these things, you bring them together, you understand why some women shy away from taking the center stage and pursuing their goals and their dreams to a large. Some of them have business ideas, but they want to make men, head of the businesses so that they don't present themselves as loose and as very, as doing what the society does not permit. So these are some of the issues that have made it practically difficult for women to take the leadership position when it comes to cultural issues, religious issues, and of course the stubborn behavioral pattern that have been built up over a period of time. These are some of the issues that have actually militated against women taking their place in the society. But again, like I said, with the kinds of successes that women are recording, with the kind of advancements and with kind of intellectual discussions that they are having, and I tell you something else. One of the major things that we've tried to do with the Amazon Watch magazine is to take a radical departure from what is obtainable in the society, where when discussions are woven around beauty, when discussions are woven around vain issues, when discussions are woven around things that are mundane, that are unserious, then they begin to say that should be women discussion. But when it is serious business, tends to talk about business, they say, no, that is men talk. It is men that should handle those issues. So what we've done is to say, look, women are serious people. There are CEO level women that don't listen to gossip, that are not moved by some of the things and motivations that are discussed in those tabloids and those magazines that are being sold out there. So if you pick an Amazon Watch magazine, what you see here is a true reflection of the African woman, a serious woman who is business minded, who is upwardly mobile, who is an A-lister, and who is a C-suite and at performing at the peak of whatever she has chosen to do. And for us, that is the kind of women we've grown to know. That is the kind of women we've seen grow while growing up, and that is the kind of women we should project our African women as. And that's for us is, taking it away from those, telling them that, look, this is what you are. Forget what the society calls you. Forget the limitations that the society has placed on you. This is what we know you are, and you can even do better. That's for us is what we are about. And like you asked, like your question asked, those are some of the barriers. That's why women, are not establishing businesses. I'm telling you, you can take that as a take home. That's why they are not establishing, because they feel if you're successful as a woman in Africa, you scare the men away. You drive it's an orientation issue. It will take time to for people to understand that there is no truism to such kind of fallacy.
Your points are really, because now I have the hope that when women try, there are men like you who are going to catch them if they fall. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And now we have to, since you mentioned something about certain kind of discussions which some men classify as a woman discussion, it brings me to the next question, which is one pertinent thing that's holding Africa back in general, be it male or female, is their blurry style in providing detailed information to the world. People do not believe Africa as a continent. I'm glad you gave some of those figures, but this kind of information, you mostly find them from developed world coming into Africa, rather than having it from Africa to the developed world. I'm talking about facts, figures, and statistics. These information are vital, and I believe this is a niche which women can tap into and stand out. If they so decide to do, where do they
Yeah.
start?
Okay. First of all, I think gathering information gathering is actually and statistics provision is actually very expensive. It is a capital
Yes.
intensive project, and that's why people like to take the easy way out. And it's interesting, to state that actually there is a woman that is actually taking a lead in trying to correct that
Oh,
anomaly,
good.
and the former Minister of Finance for Nigeria, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and the Coordinating Minister for the Economy. She started what we call NOI polls. NOI polls. She started NOI polls in Nigeria, and they've been doing very well. I had I had an encounter with the lady who was managing that agency, I think about 2 or 3 years ago. Now she's moved on to work with Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum as the chief of staff. But they're all women, vibrant women who are trying to correct this notion that it's impossible for Africans to develop statistics and numbers for themselves. But again, if you look at it, I think it's a matter of people trying to find the easy way out, not
Yes.
not wanting to do the real work. But I am glad she started, because you have a number of other agencies and organizations that are beginning to want to develop our own statistics and measurement, yardsticks for ourselves. Because, like they said,
Yes.
if
That's
there's an African proverb that says that until the lion begins to tell his story, the hunter will continue to tell his story. Except you
yes.
take your place and say, this is who we are, it will be difficult for anybody to take you seriously. So that's why, for me, it's important that, like you said, and you and I will agree that women are more detailed. They are
Yes.
more detailed in terms and
Yes.
specific. So it is easier for them to look at the fine numbers and say, okay, analyze some of the data they collect from the field and get it out there for people to work with. Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is also doing that, in terms of the numbers, and are constantly updating whatever there is, to put together, piece together in terms of numbers and statistics. We also have an agency, an agency that is coming up with a lot of support I think some developed economies, putting money into something like budget. Budget. It's called budget. They are
Okay.
more concerned about developing numbers, as it were, tracking budgets and tracking implementation of projects and programs. But they also supply data for those who want to have as to what is happening in any parts of Nigeria and other African
Okay.
countries. Some examples of what is doing. But another way to go is to money has never been a limitation for any good idea. If you have an idea, it is easier for you. The idea stage is the most, the conception stage is the most difficult of it. If you are able to articulate what you want to do and put it in proper context, those who will buy into the idea, it's a matter of being persistent. You will definitely get those who would support the vision. I can tell you that, to a large extent, if you ask those who have started McKinsey, if you ask those who have
Yes.
started,
Yes.
they started, all the major companies that deal in terms of information and statistics and endorsements, you would understand that it didn't just happen overnight. It took a while, and that's what some of us have not been able to do. The top skill to go through the process. When things fail, you know that you have pursued a particular course at the end of the day. So for me here, it is persistent, and women have a much more better opportunity to make better information and statistics providers than the men, because of their knack for details. So it's even them that should be championing this course and providing these details. They can even use the numbers to their own advantage by
Yes.
telling,
Yes.
define some of these things and say, look, if we produce this much, I think we're entitled to this much. If we contribute XYZ to the economy, even if it's the informal sector, We are entitled to X,
Yes.
Y, Z. That as often as you say this, people will begin to accept the information you push out there, and things will begin to change for the better. That's what I think.
Great. Great. I really love this conversation. There is so much hope, and women should. I think statistics is a niche which is not very much explored in Africa, and women should start using this niche. We have so many live viewers. I mean, you are loved. You are loved, man. Look at all the people. I can see the numbers. I don't have questions, but hey, thank you all so much for coming online. Please like our page, spread the message, and let every woman out there in Africa, let them listen to this podcast. It's so important. It's so direct, without any fluff. Just start something, because there are people out there who will catch you if you fall. So Kingsley, how can we get in contact with you? What are your social media handles? Please let us know.
Okay, my social media handles on Twitter, I am at Nwoke Tweet, at Nwoke Tweet. Nwoke Tweet is NWOKE TWIT, Nwoke Tweet, at Nwoke Tweet,
Okay.
at Nwoke Tweet. That's my
Your Twitter handle and your Facebook?
my Facebook is, of course, Kingsley Okeke. Just search Kingsley Okeke. You will definitely see a lot of Kingsley Okekes. But of course, African leadership is the distinguishing factor. Kingsley Nwokedi Okeke. You would. I don't think you would miss it.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And that's good. And your website?
The website is, of course, the African Leadership website is www.africanleadership.co.uk.
.uk. Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you so much. But before I let you go, I know there are some ladies here who would want to know. This is the fire round question, which is more targeted towards you rather than the women or the economy. So, yes, I know. I know. What is the one important lesson that you ever learned from an African woman?
Oh,
I know.
well,
Just one. I'm nice. Just one. One important lesson in your life that you learned from an African woman. It could be your mom, your sister, or a friend, or a wife.
Well, one very important lesson that I've learned from an African woman, both my wife and my mom, it's been the lesson of perseverance. They are an African woman. They have this power to persevere. Even it's difficult for you to find an African woman take a walk from something she believes in. It's if she believes in fact, they have an eye for things that will work more than the men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when they see things not working, they are able to persevere because they are able to see farther than the men. So they stuck in there, even at the risk of their lives. You see women who will say, look, I believe so much in this business. I believe so much in this individual. I believe so much in this project to work. And you see the men giving up, but the women are there and standing. If you look at the history of the continent, you see how women, out of perseverance, have actually ensured that they saved the life of generations, and we're still benefiting from what a lot of them did. So for me, it's the lesson in perseverance. For me, an African woman is a definition of perseverance, and that is one thing I have learned from them, and I would continue to ensure. That's why they are better at raising kids. A lot of them are quite patient. They can take a lot of things, even when you are feeling as if it's not you're not able to take this anymore. The women are there, to take it on. That's something I've learned from them.
Good. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you, and please don't stop the good work because we need you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lillian. It's been wonderful talking with you, and to our viewers, and as many of you, who are we African women who think anybody's telling you that it's not possible, that it cannot be done, they will never get to a time when we can have uh, an African woman as a front runner in programs and projects on the continent. That's a lie. And I know that there are already things that are happening. Liberia is a classical example. Malawi came and left, but we are hoping that much more. Who knows? We can even have an African president in South Africa someday. But of
Yeah.
course, these are the things that we hope that African women rise up and take their place amongst men. That's my parting word for them. And thank you again, Lillian, for having me. I would look forward to much more of these interactions in the coming months and weeks.
Thank you so much. Wherever there is hope, when there is a will, there is hope. I mean, things will happen. So you have the hope. I have the hope. I believe it's going to happen. Thank you so much, Kingsley. And talk to you again very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lillian.
Thank you. Thank you to all the live viewers. My God, you guys were so many this time. I am really amazed. And yeah, you came here to support your brother, a friend, or your spouse. Thank you so much. And talk to you all in the very next podcast. Thank you, Kingsley.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.